everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Silver Lyming. I'm grateful to have some time to share with you some wonderful stories of hope and survivors through this illness called Lyme and tick-borne illnesses, co-infections known as like Babesia, Bartonella, Ehrlichiosis. Those are just a few to mention. So if you are suspecting that you have been bitten by a tick, do know that there is more than one thing that you can contract from them. Unfortunately, it's not just Lyme, and you'd want to make sure that you're getting yourself to adequate testing. That's something else I just like to drive home for listeners is that the standard 2-tier testing that is available may be a good starting point, but it is not a end all be all in that it is about 50 to 65% accurate at best. So it is not really the best diagnostic tool. If you get a negative on the standard 2-tier testing, I would encourage you, if you still suspect that you have tick-borne illness, to get to a more sensitive lab or a Lyme specialist, a Lyme literate MD. But what I, again, put this podcast together for was to share stories of those who have gotten better from Lyme and tick-borne illness, like myself. It is possible to heal and it is possible to regain quality of life. And today I have a very special guest with me. This is somebody that I've seen go through his journey with Lyme and tick-borne illness. I'm not quite sure from the total beginning, but a lot of his journey. And I've been very grateful for his companionship and friendship in many ways, and that he is another person just like anybody else in this space that understands what we're going through with Lyme and tick-borne illness. And it's just been nice to have the ability to talk to Jeremy as much as I have to support each other in a sense through what we've been going through on our journeys. But today I have Jeremy Wawrzonek with me. He is, again, a personal friend, but somebody that we really came to know each other through the experience with Lyme and tick-borne illness. So Jeremy, if you don't mind, I love having you here today. If you could please share a little bit more with our listeners about your story with Lyme and tick-borne illness. Really, where did you think you maybe contracted it? When did your symptoms first start for you? And when did you notice something was going wrong?
Sure. Hello. Yes. So I contracted, at least I think I did, Lyme disease about roughly 8 years ago. I am an outdoorsman, so I spend a lot of time out in the woods, and I'm always aware of ticks and Lyme disease. And I always usually, take precautions when I am out in the woods and stuff. I actually, unfortunately, got the tick that bit me that gave me Lyme disease was at a wedding reception of all places. So I actually found the tick the very next day, and I removed the tick, and it was 24 hours or less since I was at this party. So it wasn't in me very long. So I know there's a lot of theories that say that you have to have the tick in you for 72 hours and all this kind of stuff to contract Lyme disease. Well, I guess I'm one of the people that's not true with. So when I got bit by the tick, I definitely knew about Lyme disease. So I did everything I could to prevent myself from getting sick to the best of my ability. So when I got bit by the tick, I was actually new back to the area again. I moved away, then I came back. And so all I could do was go to an urgent care. And that was the first mistake. So I went to an urgent care, and I was only bitten like a few days prior, and I went there to ask for antibiotics just to be on the safe side. And they gave me a real hard time about taking antibiotics. But I managed to talk her into it. She gave me, I think, 5 days worth of antibiotics, doxycycline, I believe. And then she sent me on my way. About 4 weeks later, I got really sick, fever, and just pretty much I felt like I had a bad flu. And I went back to the urgent care, and they ran all kinds of tests. I mean, my heart was beating irregular, having all kinds of neurological issues, all kinds of stuff going on. And they still did not think a Lyme disease test was necessary. They ran all these other tests, and everything came out normal. And I even asked for a Lyme disease test. And again, they told me, they won't give me the Lyme disease test. They said, well, I think the next best thing to do is set up a primary care doctor. So that's why I didn't go to primary care in the first place, because I didn't have one. So I had to set one up. So now this is now 2 weeks later that I could get into primary care because I was a new patient. So all said and done, it was about 2 months since I was bitten by the tick. And I go see my new primary care doctor, and right away she wanted to give me the standard Lyme disease test, and I told her no, I want the Western blot test. So she did, and it came back positive for acute Lyme disease. And she treated me for 2 weeks of doxycycline. I went on to 2 weeks of doxycycline, got off of it, and I was still sick. I went back to see her again. And this is when I knew I was in for a world of hurt, when she's like literally goes on her computer and starts looking up, like, I guess on the CDC website, what to do for Lyme disease and stuff like that. So she went on this site, she's looking through it, and I'm just thinking to myself, how does she not know what to do? And then she turns around and asks me, well, I can do two things for you. I can send you to infectious disease, or I can give you another 2 weeks of antibiotics. And I'm like, well, why don't we just do both? So she did. I went on 2 more weeks of antibiotics. It took me about a month or so to get an infectious disease. I did get a little bit better after being on it for 4 weeks. And then I went to infectious disease, excuse me. And she looks at my chart. She said to me, everything was done that could be done for you. So you should start to feel better in about 6 months or so. Everything should kind of back to normal. Well, okay, sure. Waited around for 6 months and I still was not feeling well. I knew something was up. And at this point, I decided to go to a better hospital system. So I went down to Penn Medicine and saw infectious disease down there. And once again, that doctor said, well, everything was done for you that could be done for Lyme, to treat Lyme disease. I think you may have developed reactive arthritis, whatever that is. I still don't understand what it is. There's no way to test for it. They just diagnose you based off of symptoms. So I did that. And so then he referred me to rheumatology, and I got stuck with rheumatology for about 2 years, because these are, what in my mind, are really good doctors and they know everything. So I'm seeing this rheumatologist for 2 years, and he's given me every kind of medication under the sun to treat all kind of issues with reactive arthritis or whatever. I mean, I was taking Humira injections and all kinds of stuff, and none of it was working. I may have got a little relief here and there from stuff, but nothing was working. And I just got frustrated at that point. And a mutual friend of mine and Ann's, she's the one who told me about Ann. And that's when I reached out to Ann. And Ann encouraged me to go to one of her support groups. And at that support group is where I learned a lot. So first of all, I learned there was a lot of people going through the same thing I'm going through. So definitely didn't feel as alone as I did before. And I also learned about Lyme literate doctors and co-infections. Co-infections is something I never even heard of. I never even heard the term before. So based off of, what Ann told me, she recommended a few doctors, and I ended up going to see the one. And that's when I actually, this is almost 5 years later from being bitten by the tick. So I went to go see this Lyme literate doctor, and he's the only one who ran tests for co-infections. And I came back positive for babesiosis, Bartonella, and mycoplasma. So here, all this other stuff has been in my body for almost 5 years, untreated. And this is the first time I found out about it. So as you can imagine, I was really frustrated, worn out from feeling sick all the time. And, one of the bad things about having Lyme disease is you still got to go on with your life. So I had to work a 40-hour-a-week job, and I was newly married. So I'm trying to juggle all these new things in my life when all I want to do is crawl in a hole. And so this doctor treated me for all these other things going on. And that was actually the first time I felt like there was hope, because I actually started to feel better. He treated me for almost a year, and it was a world of difference. I gotten so much better just in that year's time, but because this stuff sat in me for so long, it was still difficult to, I guess, get me fully back to 100%. So he referred me to a clinic down in Washington, D.C., where I'm still at currently. I've been going there for 4 years now. They've been treating me with antibiotics, like regimen, like a cocktail of antibiotics where they pulse it every month. And I've been doing that for 4 years. I also got a lot of help from Anne as far as like things to help me along the way. I saw a nutritionist. She helped me with my diet. All these things play a part in the life of someone that's chronically ill with Lyme disease or anything like that. So I really started to focus on my diet, try to reduce stress in my life as much as possible. And so I'm still seeing this provider now that down in Washington, D.C. I got better seeing them as well. They helped me out a lot, but now I'm at the point where, okay, I've been on antibiotics for 5 years now, and I'm starting to think that maybe, I need to start looking at a different method of treating myself. I think the way I see it is antibiotics did all they could at this point, and now I got to rebuild my own microbiome again. Rebuild my immune system, repair my organs from 5 years of antibiotics, and try to get my own body strong again to fight off whatever I got going on now. And honestly, I really just think I got 2 little kids at home that bring sicknesses home all the time. I just think my body now has a hard time fighting off colds and things like that. So when I get sick now, I think it's more or less the damage I've done to myself with antibiotics. So that's where I'm at today.
Yeah, I can appreciate that a lot. And I think about my own self, and like I was on antibiotics for 2.5 years, right? It's a long time for the body to go through that. And to your point, like, will you progress from where you are after being on antibiotics for 5 years, or you kind of hit that upper threshold and now maybe it's time to take it to another level with something else? Because again, for me, my own experience, I think I got to about 85% again with antibiotics, but then my organs were starting to show damage and I was like, okay, I think I've had enough. So I stopped, and the rest of the way, I really got myself there through nutrition, through changing some different things, trying some other more holistic energy approach type healing, as opposed to just strictly antibiotics. I've heard a lot, it's like if you have a really new diagnosis of Lyme or tick-borne illness, antibiotics are most effective. But once you hit a certain time period of having it in your body, it really doesn't necessarily help so much. And it's unfortunate because it takes a little bit of time to undo the help that antibiotics are giving to the body and to, again, rebuild. As you're saying, like, you kind of feel like maybe it's time to rebuild and repair and detox a little bit, right? I think that could help a good amount. But would you say now you're probably about 85% of the way better? If you had to put a number on it, what would you?
It's hard for me to say because, like I said, like the kids bring stuff home almost every month, or I get sick with something. And it's hard for me to determine if I'm sick from what the kids brought home or if I'm having a flare-up. It's really hard for me to distinguish that because, like, my flare-ups always felt like, run down, achy, flu-like symptoms. That's pretty much what it got to. And you can feel like that with a lot of things, a lot of illnesses. So I get blood work done monthly to track my organs with the antibiotics. Lately, I've been getting pulled off of them early because my creatinine levels go up, and it's my kidneys are taking a hit. So I just really think you got to listen to your body. You got to be your own doctor sometimes, and I just think, all right, 5 years, that's a long time. If it's not going to do it in that time, maybe it's not going to do it at all. And I need to just start to make myself healthy. That's really what I feel like. And hey, you can always go back, if it doesn't, you can go back to trying it again.
That's right. And maybe you just give your body a timeout and see what it does. And again, I'm certainly not a doctor. I'm not trying to give you medical advice, but more of my background is with Ayurveda and holistic healing. And what's the true definition of crazy? Continuing to do the same thing over and over and getting the same result and never changing it, right? Like, so maybe it's just time to try, as you're saying, try something else, see how that supports your body instead. see how you do. Cause I feel like when I hear you, it's like you're doing really good. And maybe then you'll start antibiotics and potentially then you herx and it kind of sets you back a little bit. And so
I don't even know if I herx anymore. Honestly, I don't know. It's hard to tell. That's why I want to try some like safer treatments and just try to get my own immune system built back up. Like, I mean, there's all kinds of treatments now. Like recently I've been looking into ozone treatments and things like that, where it's more healthier for you. And maybe your body just, maybe my body's already saying like, hey, antibiotics aren't going to do anything because we're used to them, maybe I have to shock it with something else to kill some of this stuff. I don't know. It's a journey. It's something that you got to tell yourself, hey, I'm not going to give up until I'm back to normal. And it's a long fight, but if you give up, that's it. It's over. You're done, so you got to just keep on going.
Yes. And even like your own story, again, it's clear to see it's been a very long time period that you've been dealing with this, but ultimately, we just talked about this the other day, is you are feeling better. Like you're getting there. You're going in the right direction. But that's the hard part about this, is that after it has been in you for so long, it's such a long fight a lot of times to get better. It's very draining. It's very tiring. It's very cumbersome. Like, oh, I don't feel like cooking another gluten-free, dairy-free meal. I don't feel like taking another handful of pills, or I don't feel like, and it can be very arduous and hard going. So you always can take a break and come back to it. As you say, it's not, you can try something new, and if it doesn't work, try something different. But,
well, I think I got bit by my tick when I was 36 and I'm now 46. So, like, I don't even know what it feels like to be like 100% anymore. I mean, like, it's been 10 years. So maybe this is what a 46-year-old feels. I don't know. Like, it's been so long. I'm aging, I just don't know.
And I've thought about that, is like, how do you really remind the body what it feels like to be healthy when it's been a very long time? Because that's one thing that they will recommend, is try to picture feeling healthy or feeling that feeling of health, right? But how do you really feel something that you've not had, or that you're not sure what feels like anymore? And I guess it's more of just like, maybe if your back hurts and your knee hurts or something, you can just kind of picture freely moving without that. But it's hard to visualize that when you've not had it for a very long time. How do you really know?
Right. I mean, I just go by, hey, if I feel good, then I guess that's good enough, and I know I got to manage my stress. Like this summer, I felt great. I started running again, like long distance, and I was doing good. But then I think I pushed myself a little bit too much, and then I start to get in that hole again, and I got to back off. But that's when I know I feel good, when I keep like pushing myself, and I'm like, wow, I feel like Superman again,
Yes. And then so you've talked a little bit about antibiotics and nutrition. Is there anything specific? Well, in the ozone stuff. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit too, and just some of the different things that you've done to help yourself heal. But ozone is kind of fascinating to me because, again, oxygen, supposedly Lyme hates oxygen, but oxygen can't really get to it because the areas that Lyme subsists in are not easily penetrated by oxygen. So then if you're pushing that into your body and you're really exposing yourself to an oxygen-rich environment, it's forcing that into those spaces a lot more than just normal. And so I'd be very curious to see, really, I've heard a lot of good stories on people healing lots of different things, not just Lyme and tick-borne illness, through that kind of a therapy. So I said, I'll go down and do that with you. I'd be curious to just experience it, just to see what it's like. But what other things have you really used, like with nutrition? Have you done any of the standard protocols, herbally related? Do you limit your intake of what you're allowed to have from a nutritional standpoint? Like, what are you?
Well, nutritionally, I try to stay away from sugars and like gluten. Those are my two big ones. It's very hard. It's very, very hard to do that. I mean, especially when you like exercise and work out, you get really hungry. And I got two little kids at the home, and they like all that sweet stuff, birthday parties and stuff. You got cake and stuff. It's hard not to sneak a piece now and then. But overall, I try to eat a clean diet as much as I can. I don't drink sodas. I mean, I gave up drinking alcohol. I don't do anything like that. I drink water, and I just try to eat as healthy as I can. I take quite a bit of supplements. I do a lot of supplementation. I would like to start coming off of some of them. And I'm going to try talking to like a new functional doctor, kind of get another approach at this, I think, and see what I really need. I've been taking some of this stuff for so long. I'm not sure exactly what I need anymore. I'm just used to doing it. It's like a handful of pills in the morning, handful of pills in the evening. And that's just what life has been.
Yeah. You're making me think about that song. What is it? Sugar in the morning, sugar in the evening. Don't ask. These are the random thoughts that pop into my head when people say stuff like that. Cool. And then can you just touch on a little bit more for me? So I kind of want viewers to understand this a little bit more. Like, I know from being your friend how hard it was to see, but like, what is it like to be in that space when you have a family, you have kids, you have a wife, and you're not able to function normally? Like, can you just talk a little bit more about how that kind of made you feel, what that experience was like? Because I don't think people really get it, right? Like when they're looking at us and they're like, oh, these people with Lyme, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, I was tired. Like, I can't conceptualize enough for people how crippling and horrifying the fatigue was. Like, I can't imagine having a family. And so just if you could share a little bit more about maybe your feelings with that. I don't know if that's too personal, if that's too uncomfortable.
No, not at all. It's honestly the hardest thing I ever had to do in my life. Raising a family, keeping a wife happy, that's hard enough so as it is, let alone going through an illness that's debilitating. And my wife, she's from Mexico. She never even heard of Lyme disease until I got it. So she just thought, who did I marry? I mean, she's a waste. He lays around all the time. He's not ever happy. What did I do? But thankfully she stuck with me. We had two children. Now she understands it a lot more, but it's still, there's things that are expected of me as a father and as a husband that I still try to perform. It's just very hard. It's very, very hard. When I get in these slumps where I just feel awful and depressed and miserable, and I gotta still have a smile on my face and play with my kids and, show my wife I love her and all this kind of stuff. It's very, very, very hard. It's the hardest thing, like I said, I ever had to go through.
I would say, obviously going through the illness in and of itself is hard, but I think those are the kinds of things that are almost harder because you already feel ratty, but then you're making yourself feel worse because you're not able to live up to the role that's expected of you.
The best thing I could do for myself when I get like this is I just need rest. I need to lay down and let my body recuperate. And it's not easy to do. I wake up in the morning and I could feel it coming on. Like I'm having a flare up. Guess what? I still got to go to work. And when I get home from work, I still got to be a dad. I still got to be a husband. And I got to do all that to about 8:30 at night. And then I get my time to myself where I can just go crash. And it's very hard. It's hard to try to muster that energy and do it without being super grouchy, because I don't want my kids to see that. I want them to think of me as a happy dad, and I don't want them to, see that part of me. So I try to hide it as much as I can. My wife, she when she sees it happening now, she's more understanding, and she'll give me some time to myself. But then that makes me feel awful. Like here I am not performing my duties because of this illness.
Yeah. And that's what, it's hard. It's hard to see from an outside perspective, right? Because again, I've lived the illness. I kind of know what happens, and it's I feel bad because you're such a good dad. You're such a good husband. You're such a good person. And I know you care so much, and it's hard for you to not be able to participate that way either. And that's, part of this disease, unfortunately, is that there is that side to it, where you really can't function what you were once at or in the same space. And how do you really adjust your emotions to accept that, or to be able to at least withstand it while it's going on? I know everything is always temporary, and hopefully it passes, and like you're on your way to full recovery, which is great. And again, I felt so much better when I talked to you the other day, and you're like, I am so much better than where I used to be. And I'm just like, oh, that's beautiful. That's good. Because you put the work in, and it's been a lot of changing, a lot of growth, a lot of figuring out how to survive. And so I commend you for that, because you've done a very good job at it. But I also appreciate you just sharing a little bit more about that for people who are sitting on the outside looking in, just to know that is potentially part of what happens. And as I'm glad that your partner, Monsi, is still with you. I'm very glad she has an understanding heart, in that she's been able to kind of come a little bit more onto full circle of understanding what's going on with you. And I feel sorry for people who have a partner that might not understand it. For those who are listening, please know that this is very much an invisible illness, and the person who's experiencing it is not happy that it's happening to them either. And it's just as detrimental to their well-being to know that they're not physically able to be there for you in the way that they want to show up. So if you can try to at least just come to some sort of mutual understanding when your partner is maybe having a flare-up or an episode, just to know that it's not because they don't love you or that they don't want to participate. It's just because they're truly not able to do that physically, from a wellness standpoint. Jeremy, can you also then talk to me about, were there like specific times that you were going through this that you knew that you were going to get better? Was there ever a moment where you were like, this is it, I'm doing this, I don't care, I've got to get better? And any kind of like,
I go through my slumps where I kind of like come down on myself. I get depressed. I'm like, man, I'm never going to get rid of this thing. And then, you just, what helps you get through is you have little wins, and those little wins add up. And, I'm better now than I was last year at this time and the year prior. It's a long, drawn out process, but those little wins remind you that, hey, it's possible to get better, and you just keep pushing.
Yes. And that's another thing that I kind of like to highlight, is that it is so important to celebrate those little wins. And it could be something as simple as like, oh, I was able to do wash today. And I kind of laugh when I say it, but truly like, or, oh, I was able to get up and eat today, because sometimes that's how tired this disease can make you. And so if you're able to have those little wins, or you're like, ooh, I didn't have to go down to my basement last night and just lay there by myself, I was actually able to hang out with my family and participate. Like, that's huge. That is definitely something to celebrate and encourage you along the way, because this is a very long, drawn out battle, and it's an intangible thing in a sense. Like, how do you really measure your recuperation? How do you really show that? And there's not like you don't have a meter inside that's like, oh, my battery bar is now up to 80%. It's not that visible. It's definitely like slow changes that happen over time. And so when we have these little breakthrough moments or these little wins, do highlight those and do celebrate those. And I could encourage you to even write them down. So then you can go back and look at the end of the year, just to say like, I forgot about that. Just to kind of help to give you some more tackling fuel, if you will.
And sometimes you really do, like, sometimes it hits you again, and you're like, oh man, again, but you gotta just muscle through it, and it's going to come to an end. I mean, that's the hardest thing. Like, I mean, this summer, I told you, and I had one of my best summers, I went for a 10-mile run, and I'm like, wow, where'd that come from? So I am getting better. It's just every once in a while you get set back, and you just got to muscle through it.
That's right. Because it's not a straight line to wellness. It's the very jaggedy, curvy, swoopy line that twists and turns and takes you to all kinds of rabbit holes and whatever else, until you finally get up to more of a straight point where you're fully healed. But there are a lot of ups and downs. And, it's just knowing that in the end, everything is temporary. This too shall pass. And I would wonder, do you find now when you have a flare, do you feel that they're as extended or as extensive as they were previously? Or do you find that they get maybe shorter or less intense as you get healthier?
I think they get shorter and less intense. Like when I used to get it when I first had this issue, I mean, it was almost like there wasn't days I was good. I was sick for like nonstop. And then I started getting treated correctly. And then that started to narrow down. So now if I have a flare up, it might only last a day or two or three or something like that. It doesn't last very long unless you're sick. If like you have another illness, then that just, it doesn't help. And it definitely makes things, now you're fighting illness and then your Lyme's like, ooh, this is a good opportunity for me to get them again, you know? Yeah. So that kind of all plays a part in it, but they're definitely, I have way more good days than bad now than what I did 5 years ago.
Yeah. Awesome. And that's maybe another way that people who are listening can track is just, I used to give it every day a number and then like, how was I feeling on a scale of 1 to 10? And then you can see more positive numbers over negative numbers kind of a thing. And just to, again, give yourself a little bit of encouragement, some breadcrumbs to know that you're on the right path. Mm-hmm. Do you have any words of advice or encouragement? I mean, you've given some, obviously, like just to keep going. Is there anything specific that you can share with people that you think might be helpful for them if they're maybe new on their journey or have been in it for a very long time?
I would suggest possibly being a part of a support group or getting involved with people that have Lyme and that's going through the same thing they are. I mean, Anne, you pretty much saved my life many times. And that just goes a long way when you can actually talk to somebody that's going through the same things. Even if you're having a bad time, they could be on an upswing and they can give you that encouragement that you need. Like, hey, I just got to fight a little bit more and I'll get better. Look just like they are, you know? So having people to talk to, that are going through the same thing. That's my best advice, I would say. Because when you talk to people that are not going through it, they look at you like you're nuts. I mean, they really do. They just don't understand.
Yeah. Because again, they look at, go ahead.
Like someone with cancer. Everybody will pity someone with cancer. They understand cancer. They know it could kill you. Someone with Lyme disease that says, hey, you know, I feel awful right now. I got Lyme. They just like, they shrug it off. They're like, he doesn't look sick. You know, I don't know what he's complaining about. They just don't know. You got to deal with people that are going through it.
Yes. And that's what I was going to say. And you said it as well. It's an invisible illness and people just don't get it. Right. Like I've had people with cancer on the show that say that the cancer was far better than the Lyme. Like the Lyme was way worse than their cancer experience. And I mean, that should say a lot, right? Again, for people who don't understand this, like people with Lyme sometimes don't look sick, although some of us lose our hair, some of us lose a lot of weight, some of us gain weight. There's all kinds of weird symptoms that come out of it that are much more visible. But for the most part, it's invisible, but it is 50,000 times maybe worse than cancer. I hope I never have to find that out. But I know what it was like living Lyme, and it was horrible. Because for the most part, people just, for me, they just kept telling me there was nothing even wrong with me for 7 years. And that's just like, okay, well, there's something really wrong with me, but everyone else says there's nothing wrong with me. So then what do? You don't even talk about it. But, and I, you know, I'm also grateful for you, by the way. Like I hear you, and like the support group was nice and whatnot, but you've been also a big support to me. And it is to the point that it's nice to have other people in this space who understand and who can kind of help to encourage you or just to let you know that you matter, right? That you're there and that they see you and they care, you know, it helps a lot.
For sure.
My last question for you, Jeremy, I always like to ask this question. What would you say is the best thing that has happened to you as a result of getting Lyme and tick-borne illness?
Well, the best thing, I would say focusing on my health a lot more, you know, giving up alcohol, working on my diet, really paying attention to that sort of stuff. Taking a whole new look at life. You kind of take things for granted until you become so ill that the part of you feels like, hey, I just want to die at this point, So you take a whole new look at life and you value things a lot more, like when you have a good day, it's like you feel like on top of the world, like when you feel good all the time, you kind of don't realize how important that kind of stuff is. So when you go through it, like you do with Lyme, you can really kind of appreciate that stuff a little bit more than what you used to. And of course, the people I met, like you, Ann, I would have never really probably got to know you if I didn't have Lyme. So I got a good friend out of it too.
Yeah, thanks. And I just, again, like to impress upon people, it's not all bad. Like it's not all horrible. There are some good things that come out of this, and just greater understanding of self, a different relationship with the world and how we view things, having probably a lot more gratitude for simple things, and just waking up in the morning and feeling good in the body. Because for those who have not gone through not having their health, it's probably not quite the same experience. And again, the people that you meet has been phenomenal. I've met so many great people this way that I'm sure I probably would never have met had it not been for this. And I'm like you, I'm very grateful for it. And it's been life-changing in so many ways, not just the people, but the whole experience. And it's made me a lot stronger. And I suspect, well, I'm not gonna put words in your mouth, but I would say it's made you a lot stronger too, just having come along this experience a little bit more with you.
If tomorrow I got healthy, like I said, I'd feel like I was Superman. Like there would be nothing I couldn't do.
Well, you're well on your way. It's just kind of this last 15% or so. I suspect that you really just need to get across the finish line.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I talk to with this kind of feel like that's where they get stuck, is like around the 80-85% mark. And then it just takes some additional testing and trying and trial and error to figure out what that last component is for them to get them over the finish line.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Well, you're doing awesome. And I appreciate you for sharing a lot more about yourself and your story, and really kind of your experience with Lyme and tick-borne illness. Just quickly too, as a last thought, I kind of want to try to remember to do this with people, but can you just go over some of your symptoms? I know you said you felt like you got the flu. What are some of the high level symptoms for people so that they know a little bit more about what this looks like?
So in the beginning, flu-like symptoms. So I would get, I had night sweats, that terrible achy feeling all over my body, joint pain. I even had I forget what you call it, but like where you feel like it almost felt like somebody was rubbing a fork over my skin constantly. So I had that a lot. I had a lot of neurological issues. I mean, I was getting up and going to work every day, and I'm like giving presentations to doctors and stuff, and I felt like I was like out of my body. Like I didn't even feel like I was there really talking to them. Like a lot of that weird stuff, and that's what it was like in the beginning. And now it's more like I'll get fatigue. I'll get the achy feeling in my body, like, you're starting to feel sick. And that's pretty much the extent of it now. Occasionally I would get some joint pain. Oh, and I also had like very, very bad headaches in the beginning too. My headaches were like awful.
Okay, thanks. That's helpful, because that's pretty different from some of the symptoms that I had. And again, I just find it fascinating to see how many different forms this can take, and the different co-infections can drive different symptom sets and things like that. So I
felt a lot of anger. I don't know if it's because I was just so ill, or if because of, the babesiosis or whatever in my body was messing me up chemically. I have no idea, but like I was a different person for sure.
Yeah. And I've thought about this a lot too, because if you think about it, it's an infection, right? And so my guess for you, because it had caused some neurological problems, is that it crossed your blood-brain barrier, meaning that it's against your brain, right? Like So if your brain is having infection, what happens in infection? It gets inflamed, it swells, it changes, because it's got that infection in there. And so I feel like a lot of times this is just what I felt like in my own head, that it was squeezing different areas of my brain and causing different emotional spectrums to be put out. And so I was a lot more angry, a lot more OCD, a lot more distrustful, cried a lot, just some weird things. But I think it's because my brain was swollen and it was just upset. And so that's kind of how that expressed itself. So the anger, I feel like, makes sense. Like your brain was angry, was inflamed. So
it literally felt like that. Like when I had those headaches, it felt like my brain was trying to push out of my skull.
Probably a massive swelling going on, infection in there. And that would make a lot of sense to me. Again, I'm not a doctor. These are all just kind of things that I feel, but that to me feels probably like a very logical explanation. So, well, I'm glad that that part's over. And now it's hopefully just, again, this little last bit that you've got to keep propelling yourself through. But it has been nice to see you at least regain some quality of life, to be able to participate with your family again, to be able to be an active member of society and not just have to live in your basement and be down there by yourself all the time.
Yeah. It feels good to start to regain my life again. That's for sure.
Yes. But again, thank you for your time and for sharing more of your story and journey so that people can see a little bit of a different angle and know that with some support, the right guidance, like understanding truly what's going on. You touch on so many things that you're making me think about now. Again, it's like with the testing being accurate, getting enough sensitive of a test to know really what's going on, knowing that co-infections exist and that the Lyme test is only looking for Lyme. It's not looking for any of the co-infections. Getting to a Lyme literate doctor, getting to the right kind of support, a specialist. Like we want to go to a cancer specialist. Why would we not go to a Lyme specialist, right? It's very important to get yourself the right support and care. And once you get there, you can really start to repair yourself. But before you're getting to that point, it's really hard. It's just like throwing, darts at a board and hoping you hit a target. Like it's hard. So once you have the proper things in place, then you can really start to build the right kind of foundation and support for yourself to crawl out of the hole that you got launched into with this sickness.
And you might bounce around to a few doctors until you find one that really starts to help you. So that's one thing you can't give up on as well. Talk to people that can give you some advice on who is good, so you don't have to go through all that. But you definitely keep trying. I'm still looking for new doctors that can help you now.
Yes, and I think that's a really good point. It's like, don't give up if you find one that's not supporting you in the right way. Know that there are some different kinds out there. You talked about a functional medicine doctor. I'm Ayurvedic practitioner. There's more holistic people, energy working. There's tons of different support other than just standard Western medicine docs. So know that that is an option that exists, but don't be afraid to try things. I think it's fair to give somebody a certain amount of time to let them see if they can actually help you, but to know when it's time to jump and go somewhere else. You can't beat a dead horse with a stick. Like you've got to know when it's time to go. But
hey guys,
lots of fits out there, lots of doctors that are willing to help with this. And sometimes it is just finding that right fit, that right person. And I also think too, thinking about how much your body has changed in this time, where you started, the support that you needed then is not really like the support that you need now. And so that served its function and its role for you then. Now we're moving to a different part and a different place in life that you need a different kind of support. And so that makes a lot of sense to me too, that that model would change as to who is supporting you at different times in your journey.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah. As you can hear, the Rugrats are home. So
they're much excited to spend some time with you and have some Jeremy time, as they should be. And I'm grateful for the Jeremy time that I had here with you. Thank you again for everything. And I will look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yes, and of course. And hopefully this can help some other people out with their journey as well.
Absolutely. I know it will. Without a doubt. I know it will. I get some really nice feedback from people on just how much this actually helps them with their healing. And so I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here, to be healthy, to have people like you that I can share stories with other people about.
Well, thank you so much, Anne, for having me. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate everything you've done for me.
Yes, always. My pleasure. Thank you.